Good afternoon, everybody. Merry Christmas. I think we can still say that on Boxing Day. I think that's allowed. We're here obviously at Carrow Road because Boxing Day means football, and it means football at Carrow Road. Norwich City taking on Millwall this afternoon, and they line up like this: Angus Gunn in goal, a back four of Fisher, Duffy, Doyle, and Krizene. Midfield three of Nunez, Slimani, and Marcondes. Schwartau in on the right, with Sainz on the left, and Anti-Cianats up front. Subbench Long, Hanley, Hills, Stacey, Gordon, Forson, Hernandez, Elliot Miles, and Ashley Barnes. So no Jakob Sorensen on the bench again for Norwich City. Another change in fullback areas, one that probably we anticipated because of the suspension of Jose Cordoba, but Kellen Fisher back in, which I think for the type of game maybe that we're anticipating here today, where Norwich hopefully are going to have a lot more of the ball and a lot more of the control, it probably does make sense to have perhaps a bit more of a technical option in there.
Yeah, I mean, you'd expect that he'd want a similar game to that first hour here last time out against Burnley, which, for me, in that regard, build-up play, deep build-up play between the two centre-backs, the two full-backs. That day you had Doyle and you had Fisher inverting. That was excellent. That really was excellent. Gave Burnley so many issues. Obviously, we know that it didn't deliver the win or even a draw, but in terms of the structure, that was perfect, that hour. And why wouldn't you want to try and do that again, albeit today without Cordoba, Dormu's one in, and Krizene. So it'll be interesting whether Krizene is asked to be that inverted option as well, how that impacts it. But certainly felt harsh that Kellen Fisher came out for that Sunderland game, put it directly to Giannis after the game, and he said that was a horses for courses selection, and he wanted somebody to get on the last line and get balls in the box, and that for him is Jack Stacey. Today he obviously wants, judging by that selection, a different onus from his right-sided right back. So yeah, I don't feel unhappy at that selection, and I also like Cernak down the middle. So I don't think Onel is necessarily on answer there while we wait for Sargent. So Cernak down the middle, Oscar Schwartau on the right hand side. He was very good as also in that last game against Burnley. Yep. So there's a nice feel to that selection, and obviously without Kenny for one more game, that's probably the strongest three in the middle of the park, I think.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's nice to see Anti-Cianats move back to sort of centrals, and another start for Oscar Schwartau, who, as you said, was promising against Burnley. I mean, looking at that, it's interesting. I always wonder if what we've seen in terms of build-up with, you have Doyle tuck in to almost create a back three and Stacey pushing quite high. I wonder if we'll get that reversed with Krizene doing that similar sort of role on the left. You think about his athleticism, obviously Sainz comes in as well. So that may well present a little bit of space for Norwich down that left-hand side.
Yeah, you can see that, yeah. And obviously within that mix as well, Marcondes has been very intelligent in that interchanging with Sainz. And for Sainz, I think, we'd like to see a little bit more from him in recent games. Massively high bar. It's probably unrealistic to expect him to hit that regularly. Allied two teams are clearly working him out. They're working out Norwich. They know if they nullify him, that's a long way down to blunting what Norwich are trying to do. So it'd be nice if he came back now and had two strong home performances. Not doubting his absolute key importance to this side. His numbers are off the dial already. Even if he has a slightly more fallow second half of the season, he's still going to finish on some very impressive personal numbers. But it would just be nice after a sense that he's looked a little bit frustrated, maybe because of that close attentions from a lot of teams. You know full well Livermore and Millwall today will think, how do we stop Borja Sainz? If you've got the balance you talked about there and you throw Marcondes in there as well, and that can release him into a bit more space, we know how deadly he is when he gets the ball in and around the opposition box.
Yeah, agreed. I think there's almost it's felt like there's an element of kind of overplaying with him of late, where maybe he's just tried to take on one extra. He's not quite released the ball as quickly as he needs to do, and almost some of the things that were coming effortlessly to him during that run of really free scoring form looks like almost like he's thinking too much now. Like he's just lacked that sort of off the cuff nature to maybe how he has played in recent weeks. Oscar Schwartau on the right, again, probably given what we've spoken about, the type of game which we'll hope to create, having a technical option in there, but it does, I guess, create the concern. I think we spoke about this pre-Burnley, where you've got two players probably who are going to look to move and drift centrally in Fisher and Schwartau. Hello, we should be back, hopefully. Sorry, dropped off there. A bit of
Too much more grind in your laptop.
Well, yeah, either that or the on the Carrow Wi-Fi. We're talking about the right-hand side anyway, Paddy.
We were, and I was trying to explain that key to that for me will be the midfield three. You know, if you've got good rotations with Mark Condes, Nunes, Slimani, they're quick, they're sharp, they're incisive, they're moving Millwall players around. Particularly if Millwall come in, not sure I would see that like Burnley did and press high. There might be more of a mid to low block, but irrespective, if you can manoeuvre them around, that will create those natural spaces in wide areas. So, yeah, I'm not too concerned about structurally having a Swartow and Fisher right-hand side dimension, because I think if it blends with the midfield and what they're trying to do, then there's almost a natural kind of rhythm to how they progress the ball. So, and they're both very good technical players, and so they can adapt, I'm sure. But, yeah, that doesn't concern me in the slightest.
Let's see if we are in a position to bring you the Millwall team. So I think that probably gently leads us into this game and where we are at. I think it's now in the process of being thrown in, but obviously they are under the interim management of David Livermore after Neil Harris stepped down earlier this month. Alex Neil reportedly in the running for this job, which I think is expected to ramp up post-Christmas. They have got Jensen in goal, Leonard, Tanganga, Wallace and Joe Bryan at left back, Saville and Denor as the two midfielders, with Eze, Amaku and Aziz they're free behind Young, Ivanovic, the subs bench, Roberts, Hutchinson, Bradshaw, Mayer, Wintle, Macaulay Longstaff, who scored a lot of goals for Notts County in League Two over the last couple of seasons, Duncan Watmore, George Honeyman and Wes Harding. And Paddy, I think when you think about Millwall and Millwall teams, typically they're quite strong in terms of identity, in terms of the physicality that they play with, the aggression, the intensity, and they typically tend to be very, very good at set pieces. Now, luckily for Norwich, Jake Cooper, who is a real weapon at set pieces because he's about 9 foot tall, isn't playing this afternoon. But I think they've scored the third most amount of set piece goals in the Championship. Norwich obviously have conceded the second most behind Sheffield Wednesday. You can see there already where this game may well, or where Millwall may want to take this game. And it was interesting probably that Johannes focused on that a little bit at the pre-match, because I think defensively we haven't seen too much cause for concern over recent weeks, but clearly the goals conceded tally, and obviously a lot of that it comes from set pieces. So that's the type of game that Norwich City need to avoid today. Which
is fairly black and white, isn't it? You know what their strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are, and can you counteract it? I thought he was good pre-match to you. I mean, his answer was along the lines of, and we talked about it on the podcast actually, you know, the difference in structure defensively between that first half at Sunderland and the second half. What was it? You know, that they were so good at keeping those set-piece chances to a minimum. Angus Gunn barely had any work to do in the first half. And then the first one of the second half, they switch off and they get punished. And then, you know, the house fell in like we've seen too often with this group. And we don't need to get into that wider debate about adversity and handling that and experience factor, lack of concentration, too emotional, all of those strands and elements. But there's absolutely no doubt they can do it. They've shown they can do it. But those stats are pretty damning, really. You know, they do look very vulnerable in certain games against certain teams. And if Millwall are particularly strong at that, then, you know, they will think that's their route to profit today. So I guess big onus on Shane Duffy as the defensive leader there, you know, in terms of the defensive structure. If they're that. But, you know, it's not almost about, you know, when the ball comes into your box, it's can you be good? And this is where they were good in that first half against Sunderland, because they controlled the tempo, they controlled majority of possession. They didn't really afford Sunderland too much of the ball to put deliveries into your box to test out that vulnerability. So it's almost a step back. If they could be good in that phase of the game, then Millwall aren't going to get too many sighters in terms of set pieces. But when they do, of course, then we'll see if Norwich are, you know, better structurally than they have been in certain games of late. But, you know, you would fear if they concede too many set pieces that they will look as vulnerable as they have done, because it's essentially the same group of players. And what did he say after the QPR game? For some of these individuals, they're in the side for other things, not necessarily their ability to deal with set pieces, almost saying that it's the trade-off, it's the risk and reward that Giannis talks about a lot.
It's a short side, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a short side.
So, you know, if you've naturally got defensively minded players who aren't that particularly comfortable defending set pieces, try and limit the amount of set pieces.
Yeah, and you think about as well, today missing Jose Cordova, who is a real presence, is a real asset. You know, it was real crucial in attacking set piece last weekend at Sunderland. You know, suddenly you're without his body from defensive set pieces. It doesn't make life any easier.
First goal,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But in terms of defensively, you take a big physical body like that out of the team, it's going to have an impact. And I think it was almost, he felt, less of a structural issue and more kind of a concentration issue, which is maybe a wider debate. No Jakob Sorensen again, Paddy. No Christian Fashnacht again, probably for differing reasons, we have to say. But interesting, Sorensen again, who has been in a little bit, has been out a little bit, has been on the bench and out again. That still with him, that sort of fitness narrative doesn't seem to be changing. If that is why he's out of the squad today, which you can only presume it would be.
Yeah, I mean, he did, correct me if I'm wrong, he was involved at Sunderland, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, but he had missed out the game or two before, and that was supposedly fitness related. So the fact that he's not in a 20 would tell you that probably is fitness related again, which, alas, you think of Jacob Sorensen in a Norwich shirt, you think injury periods, don't you? That's the brutal reality of it.
Yeah.
Interspersed with a brilliant spell as an emergency left back in that title-winning season under Farker, but by and large, it's a fitness-related thing that's held him back. It's certainly stopped him from ever looking remotely like a regular first-team starter. And he's in that clutch. 2 or 6 months out now, give or take. I was surprised. I keep saying it. I was surprised last summer they renewed because of the fitness issues. I'll be amazed if we continue down this path and he's not available for games, how he can really be seen to be part of it moving forward. So we'll clarify that with Yannis after the game, obviously. And Fashnacht, well, we all know the situation with Fashnacht now. You know, he's not making 20s week in, week out. He's not really going to be part of it. And if he can get himself sorted, you know, there's that talk pre-Christmas about Young Boys, his old club in Switzerland. Although the caveats seem to be coming out of the Swiss media that they want him to maybe just prove his fitness. So there might be a bit of to-in and fro-in. I think the Swiss season off the top of my head is now on a winter break until the sort of mid to the end of Jan. So could you see Christian Fashnacht gone by the end of this window? Absolutely. I'd be surprised if he's still here, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think we could say that for a few others within the squad as well. One boost, obviously, Angus Gunn. First time we've spoken about that since there's been proper clarity from an FA perspective on his situation. I think from a Norwich perspective, given maybe the expectation, they're probably quite pleased with the outcome, and it seemed to be probably the right one given the crime of kicking a substitute board. I'm not sure that really warrants a ban. Fine him, make him pay for a new one, and get on with it, which I think. Hello. So I don't know if I've got a dodgy one. I think we're back. Right, there we go. I think it's
not our laptops.
No,
don't blame us.
It's well, we've tried it on 2 now, and I think it's clearly a connection issue. So we're going to quit while we're ahead, and whilst you've got
I think the Carrow Road IT staff have had a good Christmas.
I think they've had a good Christmas party. Yeah, I'm sure they have. We will leave it there. Pinkin.com, of course, the place to go. Apologies for all the technical issues that have occurred during this broadcast, but that's the nature, I guess, of doing these things live. And Pinkin.com, the place to go. Throughout the afternoon, we'll bring you all the coverage, analysis, reaction to this game, and hopefully the Wi-Fi has improved in a few days' time when we're back here for QPR. Oh, actually, Paddy, very, very quickly, because we're fighting against the systems here. Yep. Prediction.
Christmas cheer to everybody. 3-1 Norwich.
Okay, I was going to go 3-1, so I'll be even more optimistic and go 4-1. There we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.